Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. I'm Angus Hout. We're joined by Michael Remis from Winnipeg Sports Talk today. Before we get to him, just got to shout out our good friends at Betway. Check them out if you're in Ontario, 19 plus. I mean, the NHL season is coming up, so you want to make your bets as soon as you can. Michael, how's it going today?
Feeling good. Monday. Training camps are just around the corner, so I'm in a really good mood.
Yeah. And I mean, we had the 2 out of the 3 Young Stars games this weekend. Did you watch any of that?
I did take, it's tough. It was, Jewish New Year. I have a lot of family in from out of town, but I was able to catch some of it. And always great when you see guys in Jets jerseys on the ice.
Yeah. Was there anyone that stood out to you over the weekend?
I think in both games, you have to say the two goalies, DiVincentis and Thomas Milic. And, for a long time, we haven't had, a Jets top goalie prospect. It's kind of been Connor Hellebuck, and we haven't seen any of that. And it's kind of funny because, both games very reminiscent of the way the NHL Cup plays. I mean, not the way they like to, but getting outshot and having the goalie stand on their head and keep you in the game. And that's certainly what happened yesterday, where, the first two periods, Milic really kept them in there. They were able to come back and find their game in the third period and then, shut the door in the shootout. A couple notable plays by Colby Barlow with the goal in regulation and also in the shootout. But I think for the goalies, maybe more so Milic than DiVincentis, because I think DiVincentis he's going to be back in the OHL at OHL goalie of the year. Was 7th round pick 2 years ago. And for Milic, he's picked in the 5th round this year. He can't go back to junior. He's going to be pro, and you kind of have, okay, is he going to the ECHL or will he see some time at the AHL? So for me, I think both goalies were stand-up, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Milic because I think there's more intrigue about but now that he's officially pro.
You mentioned Milic going down to the ECHL. Do you think that it would be better for him to go down to the ECHL to start the season off, or do you think you just kind of 1A, 1B him with Colin Delia?
Yeah, well, don't they have an Oskari Salminen too with the
Yeah.
Moose? I think I think this guy needs to play, and I don't think there's any shame or anything with starting him in the ECHL. I think that's partly why they felt like they needed an affiliate this year so they could have more control over the playing time. And the Jets having their ECH affiliate in Norfolk after not having one, kind of, I guess, just loaning guys out here and there, and finally pulled the trigger. So I know he came in with the Moose mask. You like to see a guy have goals, and I think he'll have some time there. But maybe it's best for him to start with the with the Norfolk. What is it, Norfolk Admirals?
Yeah.
And get as much playing time as you can. Get used to the pro style game, pro style travel, and I'm sure in time he'll be have some games with the Moose as well. So if you had there's nothing wrong with taking the long road, but certainly interesting story. Drafted in the 5th round, 2023. Won the Memorial Cup with Seattle. Put up great numbers, but I guess people see 6 feet tall and get scared. Get scared. 6 feet for a normal person, that's really tall. But I guess if you're a goalie and you have some guys pretty tall, but getting way up there, then maybe scouts don't like that. But he wasn't drafted last year, 5th round, so we'll see how it goes. But that's certainly a more interesting storyline. We haven't had that following the Jets for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting in Winnipeg, even with Connor Hellebuck's leaves. And maybe it's going to be a rough couple of years, but you look down the line, it's going to be exciting in probably 5 years in Winnipeg, especially when it comes to the goaltending.
Yeah, the Jets are certainly an interesting spot heading into the season because you have Hellebuck and Scheifele as they're in the last year of their contracts, but then you have all these prospects kind of pushing. There were a couple of years of drafts where they really didn't produce a lot of NHLers for between after the Line A pick and they get traded away first rounders for a couple of years, and you hit pick Vesalainen and it didn't work out. So there are a couple of years they didn't have first, but they're really stockpiling guys, and you have Lambert, Lucius, Barlow, and Rutgers in NCAA. So for the young stars, it's nice to see so many guys, and if the Jets do end up taking a step back, I think it would be for a short period of time before some of these guys are ready to start pushing for NHL jobs and also making an impact at the NHL level.
Barring any injuries, do you think anyone stands a chance to make the team?
I think it's there. I think it's pretty tough unless Chaz Lucius or Colby Barlow had some unbelievable camp. But it seemed like to me, I mean, all the spots are set. Well, defense, they're definitely set. We've been talking about that for a couple of years. But I think on forward, I just don't know if there's really room for any of them. They would have to have like an exceptional camp and preseason. Maybe it's something like, Mark Scheifele and his, the year after he was drafted, where he had that nice preseason. They played him the less than one game before the ELC kicked in and then sent him back. Maybe you see something like that, but this Jets team, they have aspirations to win this year, and I think that they're set with their veteran lineup, unless someone maybe could impress like a Barlow or Chaz Lucius, or would it be Brad Lambert, because he has that NHL speed, but for a guy like that, maybe you need to play him on one of the upper lines. But maybe those are the guys, but I think they're destined for the Moose eventually.
Just your thoughts on Adam Lowry being the Jets captain moving forward here.
Yeah, well, we had talked all summer. Okay, is it going to be Lowry? Is it going to be Morrissey? And for me, the only knock on Adam Lowry was, well, he's not a top scorer on the team. How could you make him captain if he's not one of the leading? So you can't have a third line center as your captain. I think that would really be the only knock. I think he has all the qualities you want a captain. He's respected by his teammates. He stands up for his teammates on the ice. He plays a hard, physical game. And you can say he's been a captain throughout his hockey career, going back to junior. Even talked on our show. He said he was captain of the Young Stars team when he played. So, his dad was a leader in the NHL. I know it's not him, but he's kind of born to do this almost. And yeah, he's not a top scorer, but I think you look at the way that he plays, the way that he handles himself. How he has the respect of all his teammates. And I think that's what counts. And yeah, he's not a top scorer, but we saw what he did in the playoffs last year. It was absolutely incredible and came out of nowhere. And I think that's a guy that people want to play for. And as far as representing the community, he's done charity work with the Toba Center. I don't know. I think he's a great pick for captain. And really the only knock is that he's not the top scorer. And I don't think you need to be a top scorer to have the respect of your teammates.
Absolutely not. I totally agree. And I mean, it's not like Adam Lowry is falling out of the lineup anytime soon either. Like the guy is a shoe-in NHLer day in and day out.
Well, and when he played, going back the 2018 season when they made the run. I mean, him with Kopp and Tanev. I mean, they played against other teams, top line. He's played a shutdown role, played against other teams, top players for years. So, it's pretty cool to see. I mean, I remember when he was drafted, and he was a great offensive player in junior, but you get to NHL, things change. He certainly adjusted his game. Did have his best offensive season last year, 36 points in 82, and that's with that long stretch where the puck just wasn't going in for him. So again, I think he's a great choice, great representative, and I'm looking forward to seeing. And Josh is going to be a leader with the team too, also getting an A, and Mark Scheifele retaining his A as well. And that's the look of the Jets leadership group. And as far as naming a captain, it seemed like at times they didn't have that guy. Well, first of all, they all said at the end of the season that Wheeler was still the captain after they moved the C, but it seemed like they didn't have someone to look to, like who's the leader in the situation. And now they say, okay, Adam, you're our guy, and I think everyone's on board with that.
Yeah, I don't know a single soul who isn't on board with that. But you bring up Morrissey and Scheifele as well, but do you think all three of those guys are really the core four of the Winnipeg Jets right now?
Yeah, you talk about core four. I thought about this one. Well, I don't think it can be Scheifele because he's a UFA. So I think when you say core four is like what is your definition? Is it like who's the long-term pieces or who are the most key players to this team for this season? Because I could say, maybe it would be Scheifele. He's your number one center. Connor, Ehlers, Morrissey. I think you could do that. Or does Hellebuck? I mean, does Hellebuck count? He's a goalie, but he's also not under contract. So I think there are some question marks. I guess it would have to be what's your definition of core four? Like, am
I
I throwing
guess like the long-term future, or maybe
Yeah,
even just like the next 3 years of the future.
well, I mean, Ehlers is 27 and Connor is 26. I want to put those guys in. I mean, Connor's got 3 years left. Ehlers has 2. Um, well, Morrissey for sure. He's gone a long term and he's your number 1D.
Yeah.
And maybe Perfetti. And then if you're looking like super long term, and then Connor and Ehlers. If you don't want to do Scheifele or Hellebuck, it's but if you're looking for like more future, then it would be Barlow, Rutger, Lambert, Lucius. Is that maybe be looking there, or you throw Perfetti in with that group instead of the more established NHL group? It's certainly interesting. Or I guess another guy. I'm kind of just throwing a lot of stuff at. I mean, we haven't seen Velarde in a Jets uniform, but he's only 24, and they have him for 2 more years at the contract he just signed, and then he's an RFA. So I think he could be more of a key piece. We just haven't really seen him how he's going to mesh with everyone, and that's certainly something to watch into training camp. But I'll stick with the established guys: Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers, Morrissey. Although you could put Hellebuck in there too. But again, maybe you put Scheifele / Hellebuck, whichever one. If they do resign, they resign.
Do you think do you think the Jets are going to sign both of those guys, just one of them, or do you think both of them just walk at the end of the season?
This is the toughest call. We've been talking about it forever. I mean, I don't have any like inside information, but I just think the way that you just saw this offseason, teams don't want to spend money. A lot of teams are up against the cap. The Jets, will be able to keep one of them, and maybe they want to make that loyalty offer. It's certainly a tricky situation. They're both 30. Do you want to pay a 30-year goalie a long term or a 30-year-old center? And it seems like the league is going away from that. But I think the Jets would make that commitment to one of their own guys. So I don't know, man. It just got feeling. I think maybe one of them will end up resigning. They'll make him an offer that they can't refuse. But I could be very wrong, and they could both be traded. It's just such an interesting situation where they're both on UFAs, but the team they're trying to win this year. Like, you're going to risk losing both of them for nothing. Yeah, I don't know if that's good long-term planning for the team. So thankfully I'm not an NHL GM, but interesting. It's that is a wild situation we've been talking about all summer, and we'll be continuing to talk about till the trade deadline and next July 1, if that is when the free agency is. Hopefully not. That's the worst day.
Yeah.
July 1, like, come on. It's Canada. Let us have a day off. Come on.
Yeah, right. Like, NHL's got to figure that one out. I think we could move it to July 3rd. Everyone's happy then.
Well, see, they're not going to do it on 4th of July because of US, holiday, but no, Canada. Screw everyone here. So
just 7 of the teams.
That's just a sidebar. That's a sidebar, but that's something we'll be following until free agency starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there one that you would personally sign over the other?
God. I'm gonna say, if I had to pick one to re-sign, I think that's real tough. Like, I do think Hellebuck's like the superior player, but I think I'd rather give a skater that kind of contract. I also don't I think you can find goalies. I think they have confidence in their goalie coach, Wade Flaherty. Maybe there's some off ice stuff with Scheifele that's been rumored or speculated, but he's your number one center. He scored 40 goals. I don't think they have a direct replacement for him. maybe they do work something out with Scheifele. There hasn't really been any reports about him, wanting out or anything. There was that report in the Athletic over the summer that Connor Hellebuyck wasn't going to sign with the Jets, although that's kind of been, dialed back a bit with a report by Elliot Friedman last week that Kevin Shoveldayoff is, maybe he'd be open to it after they weren't able to trade him. I just don't think there's a lot of other suitors for these players if you couldn't trade them this year, and maybe one of them is more likely to stay with the Jets. So I'll go. If I was you, maybe I don't know. It's such a hard call. I guess Scheifele, I would say, because I just don't think they have a replacement in line. I think goalies you can find cheap goalies. That maybe it's not in your best interest to give a goalie a long term, goalie who's 30, a long term expensive deal.
No, I totally agree with that.
Uh,
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Like I was like, if you did Connor Hellebuyck 10 million for 3 years, maybe, but you have to convince him that you're going to win.
Yeah, he said he wants to win, and maybe if they have him, they can win. But I don't know. It seemed just from that report over the summer that he wanted to go somewhere else. But it also seems like the team and Scheifele have been ready to move on from each other for a while.
Yeah.
But they're both still here, and they're both pending UFAs. You're gonna lose them both for nothing. I don't know. And they keep saying they want to make a hockey trade. They pulled off one with Dubois. I don't know. I think if you're trading him to a team that's trying to contend, I mean, they're not going to want to give up one of their players. They're going to want to give up futures. So I think it's a tough trade to make.
Yeah, kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Um, do you think the Jets would almost benefit from like not losing both of those guys, but just trading for the futures? And it feels like this team could. I mean, Hustler talked about this team could finish in the top 5, or they could finish in 30th. And it just like, would the Jets be better off to just fail for a season and get what you can out of Scheifele and Ellie?
I think they had to make the decision. Yeah, like what are we going to do here? And they seem to put their foot on the gas and they're trying to win. It would have maybe been a good idea, for the Bedard if you did trade Scheifele and Hellebuyck, and maybe you do trade Ehlers or Connor just because those guys are valuable, but they've decided to go with this route to continue to try and push and try and win and quote rebuild on the fly. And I think they certainly have a bunch of young guys who should be ready in a couple of years, but it's a tough call because you got to manage what you're managing the business interests of the team and the community, but also trying to win. And we have seen these like scorched earth rebuilds work out. I think of what in baseball, the Cubs, and in hockey, you saw it with Pittsburgh and Chicago, in the 2000s. And now Chicago just went through it again. I mean, I ripped them, for these terrible trades, trading away DeBrincat and, whoever else they traded away, just getting picks. It seemed to work out pretty well for them getting Connor Bedard. So I didn't agree with it, but so
Yeah,
what was
they're going to be winning Stanley Cups soon.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, I saw highlights of him sniping in the Young Stars, and it was pretty ridiculous. So I think you could have made an argument. What are the Jets going to do? They're certainly at a crossroads, and they chose to keep their foot on the gas here.
Yeah. So ultimately, the Jets this year, are they a cup contender? Because that's the big prize at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the odds, for cup contenders, I'm pretty sure they're going to be low, and I think they're kind of similar spot they've been where, you're probably going for one of those last playoff spots. I think, one thing for the Jets this year, reason why you would want to say, hey, let's try to get in the playoffs, and we have Connor Hellebuyck, anything can happen. You look at their division, and it's terrible. Like you have a team again, you have a couple teams that aren't even trying to win in Chicago and Arizona. So that's 2 spots. In Nashville, do you think you're better than Nashville? They're kind of rebuilding too, trading away players for picks. St. Louis, are they going to bounce back? So you really just have Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota. And Minnesota's maybe they're they're in an interesting situation with all that dead cap money. So I think for the Jets, if you're going to be in any division, I mean, if they're in the East, then yeah, maybe you say, yeah, we're not going to compete with these guys. But you look at their spot, I mean, maybe they do get into the 8th spot and you get hot. So we saw how they could play in the first half last year. It's going to be a question, can they sustain that for a whole 82 games? I don't know what it is. They seem to have these good first half and then fall off. So that's going to be a challenge for them this year. If they do get off to that hot start, to maintain that level of play, from October through April. So are they a cup contender? Not off the hop, but I think that, they can get in there, and they're good enough to beat any team on any night.
Is like the worst case scenario the Jets have a hot start to their season?
And then you have to keep Hellebuck and Scheifele and just go for it, and they walk in the off season. I guess I think maybe they think they can resign one of these guys. That would be the thought, that maybe one of them walks, or you trade one of them at the deadline regardless, and you resign one of them. And again, looking at the cup odds, what are they, plus 5,500? I mean, it's 55-1. It's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, similar, the same as St. Louis, slightly better than Nashville. I mean, so I think a playoff spot is right there for them. And we've seen with Florida, I mean, you have the best goalie. You just have to have him fresh and ready for the playoffs, and the whole team. So, I mean, after game 1 last year, you thought they were going. You thought okay, it's meant to be, but not quite. So not quite. But I think they're in a similar situation to last year, and you just hope that they're able to sustain the level of play they had at the start of the season for the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that simple. That's the formula right there.
Yeah, exactly. Just make the playoffs, and then steamroll everyone. You got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, you got Laurent Brossoit. Who knows what could happen? You got one fresh goalie going into the playoffs. We got hope here.
Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah.
Laurent Brossoit.
There we go. And
I know
didn't lose a single regulation game last year too. We can't forget that.
Is that true? I think for him, his challenge has always been health for him, but I mean, he had success here, and we'll see. Oh yeah, wow, 0 there you go. That's pretty good. 0 regulation losses, incredible.
It blows my mind. All right, real quickly, I just got like 3 fun questions for you. What's your favorite restaurant in the city?
Oh man, favorite restaurant. I'm trying to think. I don't really go out as much as I used to, but I will say I'm a big fan. I'll say the Grove. I'm a big fan of the Grove. We used to go there quite often after Jets games. Big fan of the burger. Good beers, really good fries. They call them hand cut chips there because it's British. So I will go with that.
Nice. That's a great choice. Would you rather spend the weekend out in Riding Mountain or in the White Shell?
Oh, definitely White Shell guy. I would like to go to Riding Mountain more, but
it's a bit of a cruise.
I'm a big White Shell guy. Used to have a cottage at Falcon, spent a lot of time there. And one of my friends is at West Hawk. Used to go to Lake of the Woods. So I'm a White Shell guy. Although I always thought about going to Riding Mountain. I see a lot of pictures on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I've never been.
Oh, it's gorgeous country out there. Like, and especially like you get, I mean, it's a hell of a drive, but if you can get up to Duck Mountain Provincial Park, they've got the highest point in Manitoba, and you can see Riding Mountain, just a big old valley down there.
Yeah, you hear mountain in Manitoba. It's almost like an oxymoron, but I remember like looking up I was like looking for things to do, and isn't Riding Mountain a national park as well?
It is, yeah. It's
the only one here.
They keep it well maintained.
Yeah, so I want to go there, but if you had to make me pick, I'm still a White Shell guy.
Yeah, no judgment there. Like I moved to Manitoba from Alberta, and there's nothing more cruel than rolling up to Dauphin and being like, oh man, if there's these rolling big old hills, I'm gonna be in love with this place. And then you drive through Manitoba.
I'll say I go to Winnipeg Beach often, and that drive is the most boring drive. Oh my God, give me going to the White Shell. You got trees and stuff to look at. I mean, you're making turns. Man, going north is just straight and like farmland. It's so boring. So
It's
I
rough.
will I will say, so I need to have a lot of coffee for that one.
Yeah, even though it's only a 40-minute drive, it feels like it's the longest in the province.
Yeah, I mean you can zip out there, but I'm just so like it's just nothing. Like I don't know. I drove the other day out east, towards past Kenora, and you actually have to have your hands on the wheel and turning. You got good scenery, lakes and stuff. So I'll just wait. I'm just adding that inside, and I like these. You got any more brain busters?
Oh, what's your favorite Jets jersey?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I got to go with the '90s. I think that's just
A classic.
I think that's just when I grew up watching them. First thing I could draw. I mean, the first one of the few things I could draw was like the Jets logo, at school. So I'll go with that. I'm gonna go with the '90s. That's good. Although I like the reverse retro. It's kind of based on it. But other than, I mean, I can't go wrong with heritage. But I'll say '90s.
90s.
'90s white because it was the home. It was the home jersey then.
There we go.
That's a good one.
That's a
Although
great one.
the one that's growing on me is the aviator blue. No one likes it, but I don't know. Kind of miss it.
It looked way better on the ice than like I've got one and I occasionally wear it, and it's rough, but if I'm playing hockey, I love it. It's my favorite one out there.
Yeah, I thought it was terrible when I was like, this is it. But
Yeah.
as a full jersey, it definitely grew on me, and I like teal. So but they do have a couple. I mean, someone asked me last week, what's your favorite? I like the King. What's your favorite Kings jersey? Like, man, that team's got a lot of good ones to choose from. But the Jets have a couple. I'll go with the white, but I think heritage, blue or the blue they wore quite a bit last year. You could say heritage blue, but the white '90s going to be my pick.
Beautiful pick. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll have to get you on again, maybe quarter way through the season. We'll see what's going on with the Jets at that time.
Sure, yeah, I'm enjoying all your content that you're putting out too. So thank you so much for thinking of me and asking me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, big fan of your show, and if you're not following Winnipeg Sports Talk yet, get after it.
Yeah, Sports Talk WPG on all social medias, or just Google Winnipeg Sports Talk. Check us out on YouTube and your favorite podcast provider.
Yeah. All right. Have yourself a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, bye.
See ya.